Hi and welcome back to Mwera around Britain. This is episode 7 and we cover quite a lot of ground going from North Wales, Holyhead, North Wales, all the way down to the tip of Cornwall, St Ives. I've split this episode into 3 sections. The first will cover the crossing of Cardigan Bay, and I've got some nice footage of dolphins and some wildlife on Skomer Island coming up as well. So I left Holyhead around 6 o'clock in the evening, and expecting to get there around 9 o'clock the following evening. This is me passing South Stack on the northwest side of Holyhead. After that I saw these quite dramatic wave clouds in the sky over Snowdonia, and you can see 4 or 5 peaks there, and I'll be interested if anyone's got any comments on them. Perfect sailing conditions. The sea's relatively calm, no big swell at all. Force 4, maybe force 5 breeze, and she's going along at about 5 and a bit knots, and just very comfortable. Channel now, so I did pass a container ship, came headed within about half a mile, heading north, just making allowance for the fact that the wind is going to go from this northwest breeze. It's going to go more to westerly or southwesterly, so I'm heading out further west. That will allow me to turn a bit down away from the wind. Soon after that I had a fantastic visitation from some dolphins, and I could almost reach out and touch them as I leant down from the bow to put the GoPro underwater. I got to Ramsey Sound around 6 o'clock in the evening after 24 hours and shot through, came into St Bride's Bay, and then went along the coast into Solva. My first time to go in there, and the tide was out, so I had to anchor in this bay near the entrance for the night, and then got up early the next morning about 5 to move on to one of the visitors' moorings there. I really had a great time here, very friendly harbour. Again, they only charged me for 1 night, even though I stayed for 2, and it was lovely drying out on the sand, being able to walk around, and some friends came to visit me and took me off to St David's for the day, which was fun, and all in all it was a great spot, and I would love to go back there. Very good visitors moorings with fore and aft ropes all sort of tied together, and are just easy to get moored up, and because you're moored fore and aft, you don't swing around so much, so that worked really well. Our next big passage was going to be going across to Padstow in Cornwall, but there were quite strong westerly winds forecast, so I did a short trip to Skomer Island and came into South Bay, anchored there for a night, which is a bit bumpy, but as often happens, I was visited by a seal that was watching me closely but pretending not to be looking at me whenever I turned round. Lots of puffins in the water and also on the cliff top, and had a good time there. It was quite exciting getting out because I was by that time I was on a lee shore, and so I had to get the anchor up and motor out of the bay single-handed, relying on my tiller pilot to steer me out as I sorted the anchor out. But all went well, and then I made it out into the open water south of the island. I left the narration on this next clip in, even though I recorded it for another forum that was a lot of non-sailors, but I hope you enjoy. So here I am on my passage from Skomer Island to Dale. It's fairly rough, force 5 to force 6, but going with the wind and the waves. I've just got a small bit of Genoa out and no mainsail at all. As I reach the headland that you can see on the left side there, I have to jibe, which means swap the sail to the other side of the boat, and initially I tried to use the tiller pilot to do this, to take control of the steering whilst I handle the lines, but a couple of big waves in succession overpower the tiller pilot, and get a rather exciting surf down a wave, and then swerve round, and the jib backs. It's a bit like dinghy sailing sometimes on Mwera, it's just so near the water. So here we go, just got to sort the jib out and get the course lined up again, get the wind in the jib properly, and then do a nice controlled jibe, taking in the starboard sheet there on the winch and releasing the one on the other side in a controlled fashion. Just feed out one side, take in the other. If you let it all flap a lot, then you just get tangled at the front, so you just do it nice and in a controlled way, and all is good. In case you're wondering, I am clipped into the boat at this point. This is where I anchored in Dale. I was just tucked close in under this shelter of this sort of bank, just inside all the moorings there, in about 2 metres, and had a good 24 hours there. Went ashore and did a nice walk along the Pembrokeshire coastal path, which was just beautiful, and enjoyed seeing these navigation marks on the cliff top, which are just massive and obviously designed for the commercial traffic that's coming in and out of Milford Haven. But it was a beautiful walk. It made me want to go back and do more of that coastal path another time. So from here I was basically all poised to do the crossing to Padstow, and waited. I was partly waiting for the wind to get a bit lighter, and I set off at about 1 in the morning, not thinking when I planned that quite how I was going to negotiate getting through the anchorage without hitting somebody, but all went well. And I was basically aiming to get to my destination, Padstow, to cross the Doom Bar at high water, having not experienced it before. So that was what set my passage timing. This was me about 2 hours later, got safely out of Milford Haven and was sailing along with the wind vane steering for me. 18 hours later I'd managed to cross the bar okay and come up the river, and a friend who was following the tracker captured Mwera on the webcam, the harbour webcam. You can see her there just coming into through the harbour gate. So came in there and moored up against the harbour wall. I think I stayed there for 2 nights and met up with a friendly neighbour on the harbour wall there, and he did a walk down to look at the Doom Bar at low water, which is always quite nice to see what these things look like in the light of day. And you can also see, just as we're looking across the river from the shore there, you can just see the narrow channel that you come up through as you approach the harbour entrance. That's just another view across the river towards Rock at low water. I have been carrying a fender board on Mwera all this time. I think this was my first time to use it, although there was some wood against protecting the metal steps there, but it was nice to try it out. From Padstow, the last passage on this episode is going down the coast a bit further to St Ives, which is a place I visited several times from the land on climbing trips and other holidays, but I was really looking forward to coming into the harbour there from the sea. It is another drying harbour, and initially I got there and anchored just outside the entrance, waiting for the harbour to fill up to have enough depth to go in, and I was warned by some passing fishermen that if I stayed there I would find myself right on the surf line. But this is just some footage now of me leaving the harbour at Padstow and going out along this well-marked channel to cross the bar, probably around high water, and then hopefully catch the ebb tide down the coast to St Ives. It was another good breezy day, and I had a great sail, especially once I got into St Ives Bay and went inside the island just at the north end of the bay, and just had a beautiful reach across towards the harbour. Just some more spectacular sailing. Just got the genoa out and waiting to get a bit round the headlands up on the port side there a bit before I get the main out. But it's nice to get the engine off as always and just start moving with the wind. This is looking back to Godrevy Island with the lighthouse on, which is just at the north end of St Ives Bay. So I managed to come inside there with a couple of metres under me and across the bay into St Ives harbour. Here's Mwera dried out on the sand, and I know that by July and August this place would be absolutely heaving, so it was nice to be there I think this is still about the end of June, and not be quite so busy. It's a very magical spot, and lots of different activities going on, boat rides and fishing trips and so on. So that brings us to the end of this episode, and I hope you've enjoyed it. From here I'll be heading round Land's End, which is another big landmark on the trip, and starting to sail east up the channel, and I'll just leave you with this shot of Longships, which is a mile or so off the tip of the mainland at Land's End. See you next time.